do you listen to? Certainly in today's gospel, we understand that Jesus calls himself the Good Shepherd. And a shepherd is a person of great trust for sheep. When the sheep hear the shepherd's voice, they trust that voice. They know that voice to be true. There's no other voice that the sheep will listen to. It's a voice of trust. It's a voice of love. It's a voice of protection, a voice of care. As we think about voices in our lives, what voices do we listen to? What voices do we value? Could it be a talking head or two or three on TV? Could it be certainly a spouse? For certain there. Could it be your spouse? Could it be a friend? A politician or two? Maybe, on a good day, even a pastor. But what about Jesus? Where is Jesus' voice in this mixture of sound and chatter? Now, today's gospel comes at the end of a conversation that Jesus is having with a Pharisee. You see, what preceded this was that Jesus saw a man who was blind from birth, and he was a beggar, and Jesus saw him, and he got down on his knees, and he spit in the ground, and he made a little mixture of some sort, and he put the mixture on the blind man's eyes, and then they instructed him to get up and go over to the pool that was not far, and to rinse them out. And he did this on the Sabbath, no less. The blind man rinsed his eyes. All of a sudden, he could see. And not only could he see, but his whole person or countenance or whatever, he's full of life in a way that nobody had ever seen before. This guy was really, he had a little pep in his step. And it was an amazing thing. Now, the neighbors that knew this guy for his whole life, they're looking at him and they're saying, wait, you were blind and now you can see and you can walk and you're doing all this stuff. Who did this? And the guy who was formerly blind says it was Jesus. He did what he did, and now I can see. Well, the neighbors are just amazed, and they don't know what to make of it, of course. And so they go to the tabernacle and talk to the Pharisees and priests and stuff, and they say, you know, this guy was blind, but now he can see. And the Pharisees question this man. How did it happen? Who did it? And he explained it was Jesus. This guy, Jesus, gave me my sight back. The Pharisees are not happy and not overly impressed. They go to the guy's parents. The parents want to thoroughly beg off on this. They don't want any trouble. We just want to go to the tabernacle and worship. We don't need any disruption. But in any event, they go to the parents, the Pharisees do, and they say, was your son blind from birth? And they said, yes, he was. And now he can see. Who did this? And then the parents just beg off. We're not going to get into this conversation. Our son is an adult. He can speak for himself. And so he did. And the Pharisees were not happy. They were upset. They couldn't understand how this could happen. And we think of this story today, and then Jesus explains, I am the good shepherd, my sheep hear my voice, they trust me, they follow me, and this is what happens, and I've got sheep in other locations that I am going to shepherd as well. So they trust my voice and they follow me. Well, the Pharisee is, again, not particularly happy. Now, if we back off the story and move about 60 years or 50 years into the future, and we look at the writer of this gospel, the Gospel of John, what we understand is that John was writing to a community that of believers that did have had some problems with formerly Jewish members or other members of the Jewish community, and there's this struggle about who is this Jesus really? And John is trying to explain that Jesus is not Moses, and Moses is not Jesus. And so we see throughout John these types of stories that try to demonstrate the distinction between the two. It leaves us, I suppose, with a question or two. Does Jesus need to wash out our eyes? Are we able to see what he would want us to see? And our ears as well, I suppose, and hear what he would want us to hear. Sometimes I think that in this very complex world in which we live, we are pretty good at compartmentalizing stuff. And we might compartmentalize what we hear in church, to what we hear on TV, to what we hear from in popular culture, and on, what we hear from our friends and our family. We may compartmentalize all of these voices that have perspectives on the same set of issues. And it can be, if we are compartmentalizing and we try to take a step back, it give you a headache. Your head could spin if you really kind of take a look. And what we really need is a shalomometer. Yeah, a shalomometer. It's a machine where you could take all this data in and you could just control it to your heart's desire, and somehow you would get exactly what Jesus would want you to understand, to see, and to speak. Of course, there is no such thing, is there, as a shalomometer. The best thing we have is Jesus. And to pay great attention to his ministry and understand that the stories have overwhelming relevance to the moment in which we live. And we have to coach that out of the stories of Jesus. Now, I know that we say these are tough times in which we live. You know, the sky's fallen. I'm almost 72 years old. And there's never been a day of my life when I haven't heard that the sky's fallen. Never. Just depends on whose perspective it is. It's just always fallen. And yet we're here. Makes you wonder what voices you need to listen to. Jesus is here. And no matter what, we are here. And things are always getting better as well. I don't want to put my head in the sand and say life is perfect. It's not. Lots of challenges. That's part of why we are here. But things can get better, and they can get better because he is risen. Now, here's what I see. Just kind of around here for openers. I see children being helped by the tutoring ministry. I see a member who's willing to drive a shut-in to service. I see a child who's making prayer squares to help people understand that they're never alone. I see a school in this very building that serves hundreds of children with various kinds of education that they uniquely need. I see all of that. I see a partnership with an Asian Indian church called Succoth, and the fact that we have brotherly and sisterly love between our two congregations in a variety of different ways, and we're just in the beginning of this relationship. We've been working together for a couple years, but there's more to come. There's more to come. I see a ministry that is serving people who have been left behind in nursing homes, people who have no one to talk to. I see people sharing their lives with these people and hearing their stories and affirming the value of their life. And I see that happening here. And I also see that this ministry is expanding beyond the bounds of Michigan. It's going into other states. I see all kinds of things. I see a member dropping everything that they had planned to do for that day to take another member to a needed doctor's appointment. I see a member helping another member do handiwork in her apartment so that everything could be just right. I see a group of members converting that house next door into the St. John house. I see members working on the lot here and working on our facilities. I see lots of people, members, that are giving of their time and talent to make the worship experience so meaningful, to feed us so that we are able to go out into the world. I mean, I see tutors, I see knitters, I see people making calls, I see people packing boxes for Lutheran World Federation. I see all kinds of stuff. And you know what? I could keep talking about this. And that's just from here. And that's only what I know. But I can tell you what, one thing I do know is I only know at best the half of it. There's all kinds of good news stories going on here. But we don't have enough time for that. But things are going okay. And I'm going to tell you what. There are churches all over the world with Christians that have been mobilized to do the work of Jesus. It's not just here. So I don't know if the sky's fallen. I think the people who say the sky's fallen don't spend enough time in church. Don't see how things are going. Jesus said to the Pharisees, my people, they hear my voice and they trust. My people do not listen to negative speak, and they don't act out of fear. My people don't act out of fear, because every time we're ready to act, I tell them, fear not. Go forward. Share God's love. Don't listen to it. Jesus would say, yeah, my people, or my sheep, they see the potential for God's love working through every aspect of our society. And every aspect of our society has the potential to be changed by my people. Don't listen to the negative. We have an opportunity to love. They stand up. My people, Jesus said, my people do stand up for the oppressed, and they will speak out without fear or reservation. And it's not always convenient. They feed the hungry. They visit the lonely. They visit those who are in jail. They practice forgiveness. I'm saying they practice forgiveness. They don't just throw people under the bus and besmirch people and call people names. They see the value of life. They see people as sacred and deserving. And here's the thing, they see and hear and experience all of this because he is risen. And hope, my friends, hope changes everything. And the cross for us is a sign of hope. We can claim it, we can own it, and we can proclaim it. Can I get an amen?